good morning, or good afternoon, good evening, good night, whichever realm you happen to be watching, listening to us on. I want to welcome you back to Truth Be Told. And I'm Dwight, and Max is back. Finally, after a long winter hiatus and trips to the south and all that he's had going on. Welcome back, Max. Really glad to have you here with us again.
Well, I'm glad somebody's glad.
What did Chat GPT say about that?
No, I don't know. Too much. I've cut him off.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Yes. No. Yeah. It's been too long, but I think today we're talking a little bit about mentorship, and we're going to define a couple things. I'll probably learn something in the midst of this because, yeah, I know we had a couple episodes in the past about mentorship that I shared on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for all of us to look at, to be mentored, and then also to look at how we are as mentors.
Yeah, I'd like to, in the future, not too distant future, I'd like to sit down and if we could get Kelsey in, have him part of that. And I'd a way as well to have my friend Scott, who's the pastor of Warmland Community Church, who I began to know him when he was 16, 17 years old. And nobody would have called it mentoring then when I started with him. And that spending time with him and what does that look like? And like to have him as well with us. And today I'd like to talk about, what would you look for in a mentor, and what would you look for in a spiritual mentorship with someone, and what does that look like?
There's a few things that I have in mind, but the mentor, like somebody that's ahead in a direction and place that you want to be.
That's a good definition,
because they're down that road. Now there's several different places that can go. If there's a person that's ahead of you, but down a road that isn't beneficial or isn't where you want to be or isn't spiritually further, then that could lead down a different path altogether. Because I think when we're young, we can easily look at some people and be like, oh, that's where I want to be. But when you look at the inside of their life, is that really where you want to be? Just chatting with some of the guys, it's like, what taking the counsel of the people ahead. I find it interesting just because we've had a mentor relationship. You've mentored me, but it's never been a mentor relationship. We've never sat down and been like, all right, I want you to mentor me. You're going to be like, yeah, I'm going to mentor you. I don't think it needs to be that way. At least I've learned and grown from a lot of people in my life without it being that way. But at the same time, I have to be open to that, and you have to be open to that. And it just kind of, I don't really know how it works, but it does work. But you have to, being the mentoree, if you will, definitely sitting down seriously and contemplating and looking at the life of someone ahead, and it actually being something more rich or further in life.
Yeah, I think that mentoring, and again, I think that's a relatively new term for many in Christianity. I think going back to Jesus, did he mentor his disciples? Absolutely. What did he call it? Well, I think the two terms that we would use there, one is discipleship, right? And a disciple is a learner. It's a disciple is somebody that wants to learn. They're active in that. And the other part of it, I think, is the simplicity of how Jesus gets those disciples. He just says, follow me. And what you were saying a little bit ago, there's an expression that I learned many years ago, and it says that you can't lead somebody where you're not going yourself.
Yeah.
And, watching someone's life and saying, you know what, I'd like to become like that. Now, their life may not be going in all the directions you want to go, but there's a direction that you see that you do want to go. You can easily learn from a businessman who's a successful businessman, but his whole private life is somewhere that you would not want to be, right? And so you could learn business practices, and there are those, and the big term today is we've gone from mentoring to coaching. And you see that everywhere. And I see that on when I'm looking at my Facebook page, or those that entitle themselves a coach, and
there's a plethora of that.
Yeah.
And there's, I was thinking about that. There's coaching for this, that, and the other, and they got all these free programs, and then also other programs. But I think the key, like, coming into that is social media has changed that, and now AI has amplified that, because now those coaches are pulling information from AI, if you will, and just turning it in, because it's something that they can turn fast and do with little effort. I'm just putting that out there because it's something to be aware of.
Yeah.
There's too much, but you got to look at that person's actual life and what they actually do themselves.
Okay, Max, let's talk about two aspects then today. Let's not try to break it down to where it's gone with coaching and so on. That's not our purpose in it. But mentoring and the two different ways that we can mentor in our spiritual life, because I think that's where if folks are coming to watch this or listen to this on our podcast on Spotify, they're thinking, okay, how do I find how do I find a mentor, and how do I do that? Can I do that one-on-one? What's the possibilities there? And also, the other mentorship could be in a group setting, and so
how do I find that? Start looking. No, I think
I think you've already started tapping on that, looking for somebody that actually has, I'd say, credentials, and lifelong or for a long period of time, which doesn't mean that you can't be misled in that, because I think of, I think that for me, I think I've had mentors that I've never met, but I've read them, and I've read a lot of their material, and I go, I really like what they're saying. I like what they're doing.
Yeah, you're a learner of them.
Yeah, you're a learner of them, and you're gathering, and I think of ones that really influenced my life, and later on you find their life wasn't what you thought it was. And I think of Ravi Zacharias, and it wasn't until after he had passed away that stuff came out on his life. And then one of the other ones that have really had really mentored me and made a difference in my life has been Philip Yancey, and his book, the Jesus I Never Knew. It really challenged me to find Jesus, who he really is, and sent me on that journey of going through the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and doing that over and over again. And and it just come out that that his life it has been kind of messed up, and had been for a period of time.
Yeah.
And the tendency that we have, no, I'm not going to say we, and it's not a royal we. The tendency that I have is someone like Philip Yancey and Ravi Zacharias, and I don't know where they became messed up, but the tendency that I have is to throw out all of their teaching and all that they mentored me in very good ways, to throw that out because they've kind of discredited themselves with a season of their life. And so, we have that. We have the personal mentor looking for the credentials, and to be fair with those that will watch this podcast, we all mess up.
Yeah, I think that's the easy part to overlook when we're looking at material like that. We can easily take that and then take their screw up or mess and be like, well, all of it's garbage. But that's not necessarily true, because what's going to happen if we make that screw up, or if we go through that challenging time where we we're one bad decision away from that.
Absolutely.
And that goes for
or one period of our life where we're depressed, we're discouraged, and that. And I read a lady a while ago who commented on the whole Philip Yancey downturn. I don't know of a better word to say that. And she said, you know what? Let's be fair about this. We still read David in the Old Testament, and nobody's screwed up much worse than David. Right? Yeah. He lies. He gets a guy drunk. He gets Bathsheba's husband drunk. He tries to manipulate him. He has, he seduces. Bathsheba has someone bring her to her home. He has an adulterous affair with her. She conceives, and then he goes, I'm in a mess. And so how do I get out of my mess? And so then he lies, and he brings Uriah. And it's interesting that scripture, almost every time that it refers to Bathsheba in the rest of scripture, it says the wife of Uriah, even though she was married to David later. But almost every time God reminds us of David's story, right? And then he has Uriah murdered. And the lady said, look at the people that are in scripture that mess up, and we still read, and there's still credibility in what they say, and so no mentor is going to be perfect.
No, yeah, exactly. And I think probably more important part is finding somebody you can trust.
Yeah.
Finding somebody you can trust, be open with, will meet you where you're at. I mean, I was thinking about that when I was trying to come up with a few thoughts about this, but Jesus meets us where we're at. He's our when he mentored the disciples, or taught the disciples, both words being the same. He came to them, met them where they were at, and brought them on the journey forward. I think that's important for us, because Jesus is the ultimate mentor at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I think, when we see that, and I think it's very crucial that we understand that Christ is the ultimate mentor, and that he didn't fail his disciples in the mentoring process. But finding someone, and I think the part of it is the honesty.
Yeah.
That the person is, that as they're going through, they're looking for that honesty where, I messed up here, and this has this effect, or had this effect, and helping in that journey.
Yeah. I was going to say something like, this is a little thing that people have taught me in my life. One of my mentors in the past this is tied to building a house, but if I'm working on something, and I'm learning how to do all this, he's teaching me different things. He would show me, do it, or he's like, this is how I do it. This is what works the best, the fastest, the most efficient for quality and everything, how I do it. This is try that. If it doesn't work, that's fine, but try it and see how it goes and then go from there. If I'd screw something up, he would correct it, but it wouldn't be like yelling, screaming, you're doing it wrong, because that's not gonna, number one, that's not gonna build me up to learn how to do it properly. I mean, it might, but he would correct, but give a reason why with that correction, as to like, it's not like you just need to do it better because of this. It's like, for the end result, at the end of the day, to finish this well, doing it like this. Um, um, Here's the corrections needed in order for that result to happen. The way you get through that doesn't necessarily matter, because the way I'm going to do it is going to be different than the way you're going to do it the most effectively. I'm tying that to that for building or working on something, but that applies to a lot of things. My methods, I can learn from your methods and apply that into what works for me, but it's still accomplishing the end result.
So we're going to wrap up this session of this here, and but with two comments. That first of all is an individual mentor, somebody that you've watched their life and you see a direction that they're going in, and you go, you know what, I want to know how I can do that, right?
Yeah.
And I remember my son saying one of the disappointments that he had with my father was that he never mentored him concerning business. Dad always kept his business life, his financial life separated from the rest of us. So we really never knew.
Right.
And we didn't benefit from that. We really could have. I could have benefited from that. My son could have benefited from that. So finding someone that you look at and you say, you know what? It appears that they're doing this really well. What did it take in their life in order for them to get where they are?
Yeah.
So that's and a one-on-one in that. I think often you'll get that really personal stuff, the struggles and so on, where they failed, where they've succeeded, and what are the pitfalls, and so that. And the second part, I think, is where you do this on Monday night right here. There's a group of guys that are there. And in one sense, you're mentoring them. In another sense, they're mentoring one another with their successes, and sometimes with their failures as well.
Definitely.
And so, finding a group that is led by someone who has a measure of success in the direction that you want to go with, right? And
go ahead.
Peterson said, he had a book that I read a number of years ago, and it's Long Obedience. And there's something in a direction, I forget what the rest of the title of that is, but somebody that has a long obedience in that direction, and you're going, I would like to be able to model that. I'd like to be able to see that. And so you can do that in a one-on-one, or you can do that with a group that's they want to go in that long obedience in that direction.
Correct. Yeah. I think I don't know the specific how to categorize them differently, but other than I think the one-on-one's more intimate, and the group can be, but at the same time it brings in, you're getting, what I've noticed is we have different people that have went through different things in life, and everybody's experience and things speak to different people in different ways.
Yeah, so I think that in that it also leads to a lot more distractions, because guys are going to want to zero in on what their area is, and so on. And so it leads to more distractions in order to get there, and again, can have great benefits. And so join us on our next episode as we talk about this long obedience in this direction, mentorship, as we look at that. And thank you for joining us on Truth Be Told.